Welcome to today's video, guys. So as always, chess is a beautiful game. Chess is a brutal game. So in today's video, I'm going to teach you about some of the chess terminologies I've come across. Let's get into it. The first one is a pin. So a pin basically is when you are threatening to capture a piece with a higher point, but now that piece is covered by another piece of a lesser point. So for example, in this case, we have four rooks. Okay, this is just for example purposes, but in this case it's even a checkmate. But anyway, for this case I'll explain to you what this means. So here we have the queen is pinned to the king by a rook. Another rook, the black rook is also pinned to the queen by a white rook. The knight, the same thing, and the other knight also the same thing. And at the same time, there is this pawn which is checking the king, and it's defended by another king. So basically, in this position, it's a checkmate, but obviously you won't have four rooks in a game. But it's explaining to you what a pin is. A pin is when, for example, now the king is defended by another piece, but now that piece is being attacked by your opponent's piece, basically. So on the right, there's also another example. Mm, the black, the black king is being attacked by the white bishop, but the white bishop is defending the black king. No, the black king is defending the black. Let me repeat that. The black king is defended by the black bishop from an attack by the white bishop. But again, the white queen is also attacking. The white is also attacking the black queen, but it's also still defended by the black bishop. So here the bishop is defending two pieces, two major pieces in the game. So for example, in this case, if white was the one to play next, then white will take with the bishop, will take this bishop with the bishop, it takes with check, and now it is okay. There's another thing called a fork. When the bishop takes this bishop, it forks now the king and the queen, and because it's attacking the king, then the queen has to take the bishop. But once it takes the bishop, then the white queen will take that queen. So the white opponent will have advantage of 9 points because it will be a queen up. So basically, that is what a pin is. So let's go to the next one. Uh, the next one is a skewer. This is a skewer, but it's not the best skewer. But it's still a skewer because sort of you're attacking the bishop, but what is in front of you is a queen. Why I'm saying this one is not the one on the left is not the best is because uh, if the queen moves away, then you only win you do like a rook exchange. But if you look at this skewer on the right, this is the best one because you are checking the king, but behind the king there is the bishop. So the king has to move either way. So whatever position he moves to, then you use your queen to take the rook for free. But basically that is what a skewer is. A skewer is when you are checking the king or you are attacking, yeah, basically checking the king. Now it has to move and then you win material. Yeah, basically. The next one is a fork. So a fork is whereby now, for example, in this case, you use the pawn. The pawn is attacking a knight and a bishop at the same time. So in this case, the bishop takes and then you take back with your queen. This is an opening in a game, by the way. This is actually a normal setup you'll find yourself in. There is some sort of opening if you know about you use this. So here you are attacking two pieces with one material. That is what a fork is. On the right is still a fork, and this is actually one of the best because you're forking the king and the queen, and also a rook and a bishop. Here, when you fork the king and the queen, this is called a royal fork. In this case, obviously, you're just winning the. You'll take the queen. This is a very beautiful setup. Yeah, this is what a fork is. A fork is when one piece attacks two pieces. And then there's the reveal check and reveal attack. So in this case, on the right side, you can see uh, the, this is a pin actually. I don't know if you remember, I've explained a pin. So in this case, the knight is pinned to the rook by the queen. But something beautiful is going to happen here. If the next move is by white, then black is in big trouble because if white moves to the e5 square, then it's checking the king and it's revealing an attack on the queen. So what happens here is a revealed check. There is a check and a revealed attack on the queen. I don't know if you understand that. When you look at the one on the right, what was there initially was this knight was on e5 file. So when it moved to c6, then now the queen is attacking the king, and also this knight is attacking the king, the queen. So it means you have to defend this attack by either the bishop or the queen. And if you defend with the queen, this knight takes the queen, and you take back the bishop, and you'll be like 6 points of material up. Yeah, basically that is what our reveal attack is. Uh, the other thing is back rank mate. There is something that if you're never careful with, you always end up losing a game that you're actually winning. So usually what happens, this mainly happens after you've castled. So once you've castled, you always have this setup, and then in the mid game you forget to push. So maybe something might happen. Usually you have maybe one or two rooks here. Maybe you've exchanged one rook, so each player has one rook, and then out of nowhere this happens. Uh, your opponent gains access to your back rank, the number 8 row, and that's done. There is no way you defend this. Even if maybe you had your rook, say you had your rook here, if or say this rook was on e1 square, and then you are in no, not that one, not there. Say you are at this rook was say at b1, and maybe you're somewhere here, say e4, and then it goes back b1. That's check. So you'll have to push your rook back, and then it takes, and then that's checkmate. So basically, when you're playing, you should always be careful before you. Usually, when you have this setup, be very careful. Have a look at how the state of your king and confirm. Otherwise, you lose a game that you are totally winning. Another thing is double attack or double check. So in this case, I'm very sure what happened here was this knight was attacking this bishop at this position. So when that happened, what he did is he moved to g5. The white bishop moved to g5. Once it moves to g5. Then there is two checks on the king. Whenever there are two checks on a king, The only option, the only move you have there is you can't defend that. You can't defend that check. The only thing you do is move your king. Actually, when this happens, this person is actually winning this game automatically, because once you move your king to e4, then he just moves the rook to d8, and that's checkmate. Yeah. So such things you always have to be careful. You look out for. So basically, that is what a double check or double attack is. You're checking your king, and there's double attack on the king again. The next thing is a gambit. So a gambit is whereby you hang your piece intentionally, but with a uh, bigger goal in mind. Yeah, you're hanging it, yes, but you most likely will win the material back after a few moves. Yeah, that is what a gambit is. It usually happens in the opening of the game. Yeah. Another thing is open files. So an open file is one that is totally sort of, you don't have a threat on that file, and usually it's for the rooks and the queen. So like for example, in this case, if you look at this file, it's totally open for the rook, because once it takes this, there is no other thing uh, stopping it from moving. Also in this file, this is open. Yeah. So yeah, that is what an open file is. And then there is something called a forced move. So in this case, you see the king is being attacked, and also the rook is being attacked, and you cannot take this knight. There is no threat for the knight, so this queen is forced to move somewhere else. Like there is nothing else they can do. They have to move away from being taken for free. So that is basically what a forced move is. Sometimes also when you check the king and there's maybe only one square to move to, so he's forced to move to that square. There is no other way square he can move to. And with that, now when you've advanced in this game, now you start understanding some concepts. Then you come to understand that you can use forced moves to force the queen to like a position you want to checkmate them. Yeah, move the king to a position you want to checkmate them. Yes. Um, and then checkmate, of course, you understand that that is now winning the king. The king has no more squares to move to. For example, in this case, usually when you're playing chess, the king has usually has a total of 8 squares they can move to. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So where a checkmate is whereby where you check the king and now there is no other space they can move to, so that is a checkmate. So that is a mate. So for example, in this case, let's try and see. If you see this square, this is covered by this queen. This was also covered by the queen. This is covered by the queen. This is covered by the queen. This is also covered. Literally, all the squares are covered by the queen. The only available squares are covered by their pieces, so they can move there. That is a check mate. So there's something called mate in x, where x is an integer. So for example, m1 is mate in 1. Like this is how this is illustrated. So in this case, in this particular setup, there will be checkmate in 1. There is mate in 1, because once you move this rook to h8 square, then that's checkmate. So like, that is what mate in x mean. Yani mx, where x is an integer from 1 to x is an integer 1 to whatever, but not 0. It's from 1 to, okay, usually maybe say a few moves, say mate in 5, mate in 10, mate in 9, mate in 8. Yeah, there's mate in 4, mate in 1, basically. That's what M1, MX stand for. So in this case, this illustration was M1, where M1 was mate in 1. So here, the rook mates the king in one move. Yes. Past pawns, past pawns, past pawns. Past pawns are two pawns like these which are threatening to queen and you cannot stop them. When you have pawns like this in an endgame of pawns and kings, and there are just two of them, say in these last two files, then you're going to queen no matter what. Even if they're not defended by anything else, as long as they're just the two of them, there's nothing that can happen to them. Yes, only one can be taken, and the other one will always queen. Always, always. The other one is isolated pawn. So this is an isolated pawn. An isolated pawn is one that is not defended, but this is not really an isolated. No, an isolated pawn is a pawn without a partner like this. Yeah, that's even this is an isolated pawn. At the end game, you'll see how this is an isolated pawn. Even this, you'll see how it's an isolated pawn. These are not isolated pawns. These are, yeah. And that's it. That's the end. That's your guy. That's your one and only chess master here, the chess engineer. Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks to those who've been supporting me, those who've been watching my content. I'll see you in the next one. Like, share, subscribe, and enjoy. As always, if you need anything chess, you know to get. Just send me an email. I'll get back to you. If you need classes, I'm here for you. We'll discuss how we can go about that. And yeah, that was my time. Thanks. Till the next one.